The itsy bitsy Ricky went up to ATX. Down came the rain and washed the LA Galaxy playoffs hopes away. Let's start the show. Welcome to News Across the Galaxy, where we talk all things LA Galaxy. I'm your host, Bryant, and in another very special Nag After Dark episode, my partner next to me, Mr. Eddie Nags. Mr. Edgar Zuniga. How you doing, sir?
Oh, hey! As you can see, I'm in I'm in the technological marble that is Nicaragua.
Ooh, there you go. Be
It's
very
Nicaragua in the
advanced.
year 3000, I think, or
Be
something.
very advanced in Nicaragua.
Oh my God, the truth is so far from the. But man, we're gonna talk about this game.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
At least one of these.
Yep, it's about time you crack one of those open. And for everybody listening or watching this later on, the reason why we did not go live was one, the delay of the game in Austin was about a 3-hour delay, correct?
Yeah, that was brutal.
Therefore, we couldn't stay up that late to do a live episode. And well, the main reason, because our very own Chewy and Eddie were in Las Vegas having a blast. Life is beautiful. And they did not come home on time to do a live show. So Edgar and myself took it upon ourselves to record a show and have something out for you guys and give you guys our thoughts on this. What kind of game would you say? Is it disappointing?
Yeah, we use the word frustrating so much. After a while, it kind of loses its meaning. But yeah, this was definitely disappointing. You could tell in the body language of the players as soon as like the final whistle blew.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned this right before we went on. Right now, that is not the body language of a team that clawed back to earn a point on the road. It's a team that feels defeated.
Yeah,
So.
100%. And those little things with body language, I know people might overlook those type of gestures that the players do, but it's very telling of how the night went and what they were trying to build is maybe not going to come to fruition. So it's very frustrating. It's disappointing. It's a disappointing ending to that match.
You know what this feels like? It's that feeling that you have when you're kind of been not really studying, not really paying attention in class, and all of a sudden you have a big final, and if you don't finish this class, you don't graduate. So you're trying to cram at the end, and you got that feeling of panic. And then you fall asleep and you wake up and it's 5 a.m. and the test is at 9 and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like.
Yeah, so, it was one of those. And well, let's get right into the game. We'll start with the lineup. The LA Galaxy over the weekend, was it? Wait, this is Monday, right? Yesterday on the Sunday.
Technically started on Sunday and ended sometime on Monday.
Oh yeah, September 24th. The LA Galaxy went to Austin, Texas to take on Austin FC at Q2 Stadium, and they came out with the following lineup. Jonathan Bond at goal. The 4 in the back that we've seen in recent matches. Edwards left, Mavinga and Yoshida in the middle, and Kevin Leardom outright. In the middle, you have Yuri Rosell, Mark Delgado, and Super Ricky Puig. Wait, Tiny. Wait, what did we say in the beginning? Whatever, Ricky Puig.
Itsy bitsy Ricky.
Itsy bitsy Ricky. And there's no knock on him in a diss, but he is itsy bitsy. And up top, the 3 was Tyler Boyd, Billy Sharp, and a homecoming for one Diego Fagundes. who ended
Yeah,
up
it was
starting the
nice.
game.
It's really nice to see him get to start. By the way,
Yeah.
anyway, go on with your thoughts, Brian. Because sorry to interrupt you.
Well, before the game started, and with this lineup, the momentum that they had carried from the previous match, I thought that this lineup would have been, I don't want to say the best lineup that they could have put out, but I think the one that has the most flow in match, especially with the Diego Fagundes coming in as a starter. He ended up winning the game for us against Minnesota. And so you reward a player like that when he start. And on top of that, you give him that homecoming that, he deserves. So I wasn't really that upset with the starting lineup. Um, I'm still a little questionable when it comes to Mavinga, who did not have a bad game against Minnesota by any stretch, but I'm still a little questionable with him starting. Granted, we don't have a starting caliber center back. Our best center back, Jalen Neal, is out for the season, so we can't rely on anything like that. Another player that I'm questionable about, who hasn't been doing bad, but I think when a Edwin Cerillo is in there, um, Puig and Delgado work better for some reason, or maybe I'm the one that's not. Maybe I don't get it why Rosell starts. So that was another questionable start. But aside from that, I thought this team had the personnel on the pitch to actually win the match. I don't know if you saw the same thing.
Well, these days, when the Galaxy throws out a roster, there's not much to complain about because they put out so many names out there, and so many people have gotten hurt that the fact that they can even put together a team that resembles an MLS caliber team is like a minor miracle, and still remain competitive, right? We've talked about this, how despite all the injuries, this team has remained competitive. Now they're trying to fight for a playoff spot,
Yeah,
trying being
the
the big
keyword.
word. Yeah. But the first thing that caught my attention was, hey, Diego Fagundes got the start. Hey, that's good on Vanny. Giving Fagundes the rub so he could get a nice ovation by the home fans. Uh, but then you see Chris Mavinga on the back, and with Chris Mavinga, every single time it's like rolling the dice. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
You don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know if you're gonna get a nice 7 or an 11, or if you're gonna get snake eyes, man. And tonight was one of those nights because uh, if Mavinga does, the Galaxy does as well. But it wasn't just him. We'll get more into that. But yeah, the one thing I was also worried about was the fact that uh, I know we're already used to having Ricky Puig be your everyday starter, your captain, but we've been talking about how he is nursing an injury at this point. We've heard that he's nursing a groin injury. So at this point, you start to wonder: uh, is Banny gonna be putting him out there every single time, and maybe start limiting his minutes? But this late in the season, uh, and with an opportunity to still maybe claw for a playoff spot, you can't really blame him. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, how much longer can he go? Especially considering the fact that it had rained so much, and you have a wet pitch. Granted, the Q2 Stadium has, I'm pretty sure they have a good irrigation system so that the field isn't waterlogged. But at the same time, if anybody who's played on rain, it's kind of dicey, right? When you try to
hmm
cut, when you try to, change direction, sometimes you just don't get the right kind of grip and you slip and you fall. And if you're nursing an injury like that, it just makes life a little more difficult for you. But yeah, getting into the game, wow. Wait a minute, trying to get into the game
yeah,
because this game didn't, Mother Nature is like, Galaxy, I'm gonna be giving you issues all season long, and um, from what we heard, the stadium was packed, right? A lot of people already knew Fangundes was going to be coming back, and there was a pretty good crowd ready, ready to welcome him. But there was some really bad weather, Brian. Huh? What did you hear?
Well, I saw on the socials it started off with thunder, and then while the road warriors, damn, Nag After Dark, man, I can't really speak.
The Road
These
Warriors.
road warriors that went out there to Austin to watch the LA Galaxy play, I saw a lot of their stories, and as they were walking into the stadium, the lightning started happening, and you could hear thunder, and then soon after, the heavy rain started falling down, and then there was warnings of uh, baseball-sized hail that was gonna come down, and all this. I mean, what do you make of it?
It's
It was supposed to be such a beautiful game on a Sunday night, and as the away fans, you wanted to go watch your Galaxy, play in quote unquote perfect weather, and then this happens. Does this have an effect on the players when it's pretty much a 3 hour delay? Like, what do you do? Do you go out and have a snack? Do you eat something? Because it is a long wait. So what happens in those instances?
I'm guessing with the Galaxy that they'll Daniel Village busts out his little chessboard and starts challenging people 2 on 1. Like, come on, two of you guys at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's really strange. I mean, you and I, we played, soccer before, and I never really had to deal with that, before. I mean, the most extreme weather I had to deal with was just extreme heat, right? And on a artificial turf, which is brutal.
Hmm.
But having to deal with like pounding rain with thunder and that kind of stuff, um, if that ever happened, we just didn't play. Period. We just postponed the game. But this late in the season, there isn't much wiggle room as far as rescheduling matches, and so it was more of a waiting game. Um, and if you've ever lived in the Midwest, and I have, the weather's pretty nuts, man. A lot of times, when you look at a map, right, of the United States, and you look at where the population centers are, it's some of the biggest population centers are on the West Coast and along the East Coast, right? And then there's all this empty space in the middle with cities peppered across, and you wonder, man, there's so much space here to build, cities. How come people aren't living here? Well, they can have access to waters and rivers, but also one of the biggest factors is that the weather across the central part of the country is insane, man. Tornadoes and thunderstorms and flooding and extreme heat waves. So Austin just happens to be in that part of the country, right? And man, they get some gnarly weather in the summer in Texas. And, I guess, Austin didn't get the memo. It's already fall. And they got some nasty ass weather. Um, the good thing is that none of the traveling supporters, from what we heard, got affected. Were seriously affected by the rain, other than having like wet feet. But yeah, and what ended up happening was that it got later and later and later. It was because I'm guessing, because more than anything, because it was a Sunday night. A lot of the people that would have normally had been in attendance had to go home. They got to work in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, and the ones that stuck it out, I mean, diehards, man. Good, good for you, to stick it out for your team, whether it's Austin or Galaxy. But you got treated to a very strange situation where you start a match on one day and you end it the following day, right?
Yeah. Well, the match started here at what, 9:20.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's what, 11 o'clock out there, something like that.
yeah, definitely. It's 2 hour
And
difference.
well, so yeah, so I mean, big shout outs to everybody who stuck around and weathered the storm.
Oh,
So
by
this,
the way, I almost forgot. I'm sorry, I didn't really answer your question. What do the players do, right?
yeah,
Because they go out for their warm-ups and then they're told, no, the game can't start. You go back in. Um, I've heard players talk about this before, that the most important thing is not only to try to stay warm, right? Do some stretching, do some, maybe do an elliptical, but it's also trying to keep your mind focused, because when you go onto the pitch and you're ready to play, you get into that zone, right? That mentality, you're you're just ready to go with your game face on. But when you're already there and they tell you, no, we gotta wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, then all of a sudden you get the call like, okay, we're going, boys, let's go, let's go, let's go. Then you really gotta quickly, immediately get back into that mentality, and that's difficult. And you could tell because as far as our guys are concerned, some of them came out there and really didn't look as sharp as they could have.
Mm,
And I don't mean Billy Sharp. Yeah. I'm
yeah.
talking like a Ricky Pooch.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the game. Usually, when you're the away team, you try to absorb the pressure for the first 15 minutes. That wasn't the case. The LA Galaxy went down around the 11th minute. Alex Ring pulling back of the net, where I thought the LA Galaxy defense and the midfield looked very sloppy. We before we even got on the pod, we went down over the goals and we broke down some of the goals that happened. And in that first goal, it was a lot of lazy tracking. Uh, Players didn't follow their mark.
Yeah.
What exactly do you think went wrong in that first goal?
Well, the first goal, the ball, it was a pass that went into the 18, um, to one of the awesome players who wasn't able to really corral the ball. The ball kind of caromed off his foot, and it went right to Ring, Alex Ring, I think is his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just picked a spot to the far post. Good shot. No, there's nothing Bond could have done other than maybe be like an extra foot longer, and,
Yeah.
to really smash it away. But when we look back at the play, Mark Delgado, as the ball is whipped into the 18, he's following Ring, and for some reason he pulls up instead of continuing his run. And if he would have followed Ring, at least he would have put a body on him, maybe, try to fight for the ball. Instead, Ring, when he gets the ball, there's nobody around him, about 10 yards around him. This guy has enough time to look up, do a math equation, pick out, his angle, trajectory, and everything, and, slam the ball in. So, like you said, lazy defending. Maybe, like we said, it's uh, get your head in the game, right? It's kind of hard when you've been waiting for so long, and maybe some of that fatigue because of the time difference. But then again, we're from the West Coast, right? For us, that's not that late. You think it would affect the Austin players more,
Yeah.
but when you're sitting in the dressing room just waiting for the game to start, maybe you kind of start to zone out as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
In the first goal, I mean, it wasn't early, but like I mentioned before, those first 15 minutes is the time that you want to absorb that pressure and then see where the match goes from there. But you get scored on in the 11th minute, and then Mavinga goes down. That you have to sub him at the 26th, and then in between those, your best player, your DP, your main guy, Ricky Puig, gets injured. Uh, and it was a, I don't know how you saw the tackle, but he looked like he got caught under the tackle and his ankle.
yeah,
Um,
like a twist. His body twisted.
yeah, I think him kind of rolling through with the like his fall, he fell with it. It didn't look as bad, but he still got caught under the player, and you could tell right away he was not good.
Yeah,
He was not able to stand on that foot. He was not able to jog it off how players usually like to do. He wasn't really doing anything as soon as that injury happened. Um, I know he ended up taking the PK and ended up scoring, but even in that penalty that he scored, the way he walked up to the ball, even the way that he kicked it, you could clearly see it wasn't just us that could see it. I mean, I'm pretty sure Vanny could see it. This man was injured.
yeah, he was literally on his last leg. Um, we've been discussing about how Puig, right, has been nursing an injury for a while.
Yeah.
When you're nursing, I mean, it's not serious enough, I guess, to keep him off the field. But if it's one of those nagging injuries, that if you step a certain way, if you make a bad cut, it'll really flare up, right? It'll
Mm-hmm.
knock you out of a game. this is stuff that's in the back of your mind, right? So you're like, okay, I got to be careful not to overexert myself. It's real hard for Ricky to hold back. We see him getting the ball and dribbling into a group of people. We see him trying to force the ball, down the field and make things happen. And the whole time you're like, please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. But then you see this happen and you think to yourself, okay, well, so he got stopped, right? That's a penalty, right? But why was it so bad? Well, a lot of times when you're nursing an injury and you try to favor that, that injury, you try to make sure that you don't put too much pressure on it. Well, the rest of your body has to compensate for this. And so it makes it easier for other parts of your body to get hurt. So it's a combination of different things. Um, Fortunately for us, it affected him definitely. I've never really been convinced with the way Ricky Puig takes his penalties. He kind of telegraphs them. Goalkeepers, know immediately where he's going to go. And in this case, Stuver definitely knew where he was going to go. And Puig just got enough in it to get it past him. I really, in my heart of hearts, believe he should have given it to Billy Sharp. Billy Sharp, proven goal scorer, and that's what he does, man.
Yeah.
But hey, Puig wanted the smoke, man, and he almost paid for it. The good thing is that at that point the game was tied, and it looked like Galaxy could probably still salvage something, despite the fact that they didn't look too convincing and they were just barely getting their heads into the game. But man, as the game wore on, you start to see that things aren't really going for them, despite having all this possession. Ah, and then Austin strikes again.
Yeah, and this is okay. Before even that goal happened, I know Ricky's a competitor. I know he wants to stay in the pitch for as long as possible. I know he wants to help his team come out with some points from this road trip. And well, he wanted those 3 points, but for my liking, this man should have been subbed out even before that PK. You could tell right away that he wasn't right. And the thing is, you're risking his career, leaving him on there like that. You're. Is it worth the playoffs? And this is what I had a trouble with Vanny. Vanny, you gotta have the fortitude, the testicular fortitude that I talked to you about earlier, to take this man out. You gotta save your players from themselves. We could clearly see he wasn't that effective. He was trying, but how much can you try when you're playing with a bum ankle already, and then
Yeah,
you're already nursing an injury. Vanny,
yeah,
what are you doing at this point?
yeah. It's a gray area, man. To be honest, and I mean, I speak from this because I mean, obviously, you're younger than I am, and where I growing up, I was always told, hey, man, you get hurt, rub some dirt in it, keep going, kid, tough it out. And maybe that's why I'm so fucking injured these days. I have messed up knees, ankles, everything hurts because when I would get hurt, instead of like asking for a sub or just stepping out, right? I would just keep on playing until. And when I was younger, I could get away with that. And as I got older, man, those injuries really started to get debilitating. Well, then you get into that question like, okay, how far can you go? How much can you push yourself? Maybe if it's something that isn't that bad, okay, you could deal with it. You could go along with it, and maybe it's a cultural thing with Ricky, right? Because he's not from the U.S., he's from Spain, right? You got to
Mm-hmm.
be tough, you got to be macho, right? But at the same time, you got this is when you start to look at him and you think, he is an investment, not just for this season, but for the future. Granted that Ricky wants to go back to Europe, but that falls back on his plate where you're not going back to Europe if you end up with a bum leg or some injury.
Yeah.
So you have to start to weigh, how much are you willing to gamble to try to get into the playoffs? And at this point, with this much of a deficit, it's not really a guarantee because I mean, Galaxy could probably, going into this game, they feel like, yeah, we could take on Austin, we could deal with Austin, we could probably win against Austin. But when you look at the calendar and you look who's coming up ahead, it's not that easy. We could sit here all day and be like, okay, we need this many points, we could win the next 4 or 5 games. No, You look at that, you look at who's coming up, and you look at our roster, and you're like, yeah, we'll be lucky if we get a couple wins out of this. We'll talk about that in a little bit more in detail later on. But going back to the whole Ricky thing, yeah, you get into that gray area where like, hmm, what do you do, right? Maybe an older generation would be like, go out there until your legs fall off, kid. But nowadays we're a little smarter about that. We're more conscious about concussion issues. We're conscious about stuff that could debilitate you in the long run. And this late in the season, I don't know. I kind of, I really, I kind of agree with you. I don't know if maybe subbing him out at that moment would have been, that thing, that crucial. But definitely, I thought if he could make it to the half, take him out at the half. Assess how he is, in the locker room where you can have time to really look at him and then determine whether or not you think he should go out. But him being the captain, I think maybe he feels like, he owes it to his team or to himself, whatever. And Vanny, this is what you said, Brian. He's got to have, the testicular fortitude to make the decision that his player won't make. And that is, sorry, buddy, we got to take you out for your own good, for the good of our club, and bring somebody else. You've done a fantastic job. Pat him on the back, give him some orange wedges, and let somebody else get in there.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that really irked me this game. Is not the fact that the LA Galaxy went to Austin and couldn't come up with the 3 points. It's the fact that Greg Vanny, being an experienced coach who's seen these type of plays before, still let Ricky run on that bum ankle. And
And
maybe yeah,
the
and
groin.
and the groin. Well, the groin. I mean, he was able to go. He gave it a go. He didn't look
Yeah.
bad before that injury. And like you said earlier, like if you're able to, kind of do a little bit of that work with a semi injury, then go for it. But after that ankle injury, you could clearly tell that he was not ready to go 90 minutes. He shouldn't even have been able to finish a half, in in,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. And when you get injured like that, where it's another body part that gets injured, then that previous injury you had, it feels a lot worse
Yeah,
because your body tries to compensate for everything, and then you're completely out of balance at that point. So
yeah,
yeah, we have an injured Ricky Puig. The Galaxy offense, despite all this possession, is still trying to find how to solve things. Um, and Billy Sharp had his opportunities. I know he had one where, my goodness, he came so close, and it was within that window where he could have still tied that record, that MLS record, or
mm-hmm.
beaten it. And his shot just went. He took a ball hitting towards the left of Stuber. He took a shot to the far post, and it just went past the post, so close. And they had a really hard time trying to find Billy Sharp in the middle. Unfortunately, Billy Sharp actually, didn't score this time around, but he would have an impact in the game later on in the second half.
Yeah.
Um,
And well, the half finishes with the LA Galaxy getting scored on. Again, another mental mistake by the defense. Raheem Edwards got beat on
yeah,
that play, and
he got beat.
this is another thing that happened in the game against I think it was St. Louis and against Minnesota, where the LA Galaxy can't finish a half without getting scored on.
Oh my goodness.
And that's a big thing. If you are really trying to make a push into those playoffs, and the playoffs is way more intense, and you cannot have those mental lapses where you're tied in the first half and then go into the half down one. These are the type of things you need to tighten up. And the LA Galaxy are nowhere near playoff ready, even if they were to sneak in with those type of plays.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of ironic that in the moments leading up to that play, the Galaxy players were kind of like time wasting a little. Like Bondi was holding on to the ball a little longer. Some of the Galaxy defenders were like, taking their time bringing the ball up to the up to the attack to the middle of the field, and their mindset was like, all right, we're tied, let's just end the half. But like you said, mental lapses, man. And this is where we got to address something where like some people on social media were really going at Jonathan Bond. And I know that as much as we love Bondi, but some of the stuff that he's done in the past, we got your Bond girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you really can't fault him for this. I will fucking die on this hill defending Bond in this game because that first goal, that wasn't really his fault. The second goal, that wasn't really his fault either. He did his best to try to limit the angle of the shot, which is what he's supposed to be doing on the near post. Um, but at that point, Leardom was beat. Um, and Austin had the opportunity to pass the ball across the box to Ethan Finley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scored the goal, or is it Rigoni? I think it was
Rigoni,
Rigoni.
Rigoni,
Yeah,
yeah.
Rigoni. He had already beaten Raheem Edwards. He started like at one point he's on Raheem's right as they're running towards the goal, and then right before the goal happens, he cuts to his left, gets on the inside of Raheem Edwards, and it turns Raheem completely around and scores the goal. Tap in.
I'm sorry, you had it right. Yeah, it was Ethan Finley.
Yeah. Ethan Finley. Okay. So yeah, my God. At that point, you're like, oh dear God. Just when our guys are starting to, get something going, maybe take something in a half, regroup, come back, refreshed. No, 2-1 down, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, that we've been done this before. Then this sounds familiar. It just happened last week.
Yeah, yeah, and you go into the half demoralized. My I was super angry at this point, not because of the score, because Ricky was still playing, and now you go into the half. You need 3 points. You need these 3 points. You're still gonna throw Ricky out there with that bum ankle? Spoiler alert: this man plays 80 minutes. 80 minutes on the bum ankle. What
Yeah,
was Vanny thinking?
he wasn't.
What was Vanny thinking at the half? You know who he takes out at the half? He takes out Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, and my goodness. As soon as I saw that, it was like a red flag for me. I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, here goes one of our most important, one of our more important players this season. Uh, Somebody who has been indispensable in the attack, who we depend on so much, especially on that right side. And oh my God, he's gone.
Yeah,
In the past, I've seen the Galaxy offense sputter to completely as soon as you take Boyd out. So I wonder, like, is he hurt? What happened? And are they limiting his minutes? Is he tired? What's going on? I haven't heard anything yet. I don't know if you have. I really haven't seen anybody address what happened to Boyd. Um, did he get into an argument with somebody in the dressing room at the half?
I'm not sure what it was, but I can tell you this: the criticism that we give Vanny and we've given Vanny throughout his coaching stint here in the LA Galaxy is warranted. This man's substitution pattern is not up to par. This is why he gets out coached a lot, because those type of substitutions that he does when they're unnecessary and the players that he brings in, they don't work. They didn't work this time around. I mean, at the end, I mean, we tied this game, but maybe if you would have put those subs earlier, we could have done something else. Uh, you bring in Joveljic at the 69th, and the game is still 2-1. I know he's trying to go after it, but then you get scored on. You're down 3-1, and Ricky is still in there with a bum ankle. How on earth are you supposed to compete with all the infirmary on the pitch?
Yeah, and that third goal, man. Once again, that defense, man. This time it was Kelvin Leardom.
Yeah,
Um, and when we looked at the play, it was like if Kelvin Leardom would have been alongside his defensive teammates, along the defensive line, the pass to Rigoni would have been offside. But for some reason, Kelvin Leardom was like way away from his teammates. When the pass got to Rigoni, he was completely onside. Kelvin Leardom, lifts his hand up, asking the ref, hey, can you give him offside? No. And at that point, it was just a race to the box. Bondi came out, tried to do what he could. Rigoni blasted the shot right above his shoulder, hit the ceiling in the net. It was just a laser beam. And this is where like I went on Twitter where talking to my to some of the other Galaxy fans, and I was just like, "Yep, bring out the coffins. The season's dead." again, right? It's the same thing we saw against Minnesota. And just when we thought that this team was dead, something very, I mean, unusual happens, and they fight to come back. And we already know how the game ended, so it's not like we're spoiling anything for you. But um, how can I sum it up, right? I don't know. Like if you're gonna lose, right? Just go ahead and lose, damn it. You know, I mean, fuck it. You know, I understand. You know, it's fine. You went out there, you gave it the best shot, but man, the way this team waits and does these things it's like it's kind of infuriating, especially considering everything that went down, right? The injury to Puig, and how they weren't able to complete this, and so at the end I'm like I'm like, what the hell, man? What am I watching? What is this? It's like it's not even entertaining. It's because you watch the game because you feel a sense of pride for your team. You also like want to be entertained, and I'm watching this. I'm like, I'm not entertained. This is infuriating to watch. Um, but yeah, Galaxy was able to mount the comeback, and at the end, they really did have a chance to win the game, and the last shot of the game, and it just wasn't so. But we did see a couple things at the end that Mike, I guess, a silver lining to all this. Uh, and that was one, Jovic actually scored a goal in the run and play, and
Lovely.
it was a nice goal. It was like something we would see Jovic do normally in the past. Him and Billy Sharp looked fantastic together, working together. And also, we saw Johnny Perez come in, and he made a fantastic pass to for the goal that tied the match.
Yeah.
So, can you take it away, Brian?
Uh,
Explain.
these all the magic happened as soon as Ricky Pooch came out. Ricky Pooch got subbed out at the 80th for Jonathan Perez, and then from there on, it was game on because this team looked more dangerous. This team looked more
It's like the
direct.
shackles were off, right?
Yeah, and it's not because Ricky was holding everybody back because of his skill. It was because of his injury. And if we could have done this from the beginning of the half, maybe it could have looked different. No guarantees, because I mean we're not predictors of anything or magicians of anything. But it's really frustrating to see. Again, there goes that word, frustrating. It's really frustrating to see uh, these outcomes, especially knowing that this team has these hopes for playoffs, and you go down 3-1, and somehow you miraculously get out of there with a point. Uh, like you said, the silver lining is that Jovic scored and that Johnny Perez looks like he could actually play. And it goes back to the thing with Vanny again. We already saw, well, what was it? He played 10 plus minutes. In those 10 plus minutes, he has been better than, and here it goes again with the name, he has been better than Efrain Alvarez. And
Who?
Efrain, yeah, Efrain Alvarez has had chances after chances after chances, and this kid has been sitting on the shelf this whole time. You're gonna tell me that we weren't able to give this kid more minutes, and maybe we could have found something that worked with this LA Galaxy? This is what, yeah, this is where it gets really,
Yeah.
really epic.
Unfortunately, I mean, this is where, because of all the injuries, just, he's so down, he's so low on the depth chart. It's, you know, it's just unfortunate that this is how you had to figure out that, yeah, this kid can ball. But I mean, how many players have we seen get their opportunity like that, get their shot like that, where um, they rise to the occasion, and then you realize you have something special there. So hopefully Vanny understands this and starts to use him more now, especially considering that I'm really, hoping that Puig's minutes are going to be limited the rest of the way. Um, and that goes hand in hand with a poll I posted earlier today, which is still active. You want to read it? You want me to bring it up?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So It's at 100 votes right now. Yeah, with 19 hours left. It's at exactly at 11:30 p.m. You know,
On the Monday.
on a Monday. And I
Lagartija.
asked, "Hey, fellow G's, if you were Greg Vanny, would you sit Ricky Pooch for at least two of the remaining five matches? Would you let him play the rest of the way and hope he doesn't get hurt bad? Or would you shut him down for the season to avoid a more serious injury?" Like I said, 100 votes. So far, right now, 61% say, hey, take a couple of days off. Not that urgent at this point. 25% actually said, play till you drop, boy. And then 14%, are more like, that's it, rest for the, get some rest for next season, kid. You've done enough. So it's a very difficult decision to make. I mean, there is some wiggle room with I think a couple of days off, but you open yourself up to criticism no matter which decision you take. What do you think, Brian?
It's tough because I kind of have a certain view of Vanny already. I don't know if I'm criticizing him too harshly with how he has been tactically, how he's been um, with his substitution patterns. Maybe I have been harsh. Maybe his job has been hard just because of the injuries that has plagued the LA Galaxy, and it started with your DP player and Chicharito, and then your other veteran defender Martin Cáceres goes down, and then Brugman goes down, and then Marky Delgado was down for a bit. So he's had things to fight through. But in spite of that, I mean, he's lost games because of his own errors.
Yeah,
At this point, I would have to say just shut him down. I do not see this LA Galaxy team making the playoffs, even with a healthy Ricky Pooch, because this game against Austin, I think this was one that you needed to win. The games that are coming up are not that much easier. You have
no,
Portland, then you have Seattle, then we go back to we go to Minnesota, uh,
yeah.
and then Real Salt Lake, another tough team, and
And
then you
Dallas.
finish off with Dallas. So these 5 games out of potential 15 to get into the playoffs, right now the LA Galaxy has 34. What was the magic number we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, yeah, that ties in with a question that we asked people to, send in their questions, and the question was, what's the number, right? What are we aiming for, to get into the playoffs? How many points does Galaxy need to make the playoffs? Now, based on last season, right? Granted, last season 7 teams got in, right? When we looked at it in the West, ninth place team was Vancouver Whitecaps with 43 points. We looked at the table, Bryant and I did, and we were trying to figure out um, how many points we needed to get in there. And considering how many games are left, Galaxy would need to get at least 45 points to be scratch and claw for that ninth spot.
Mm-hmm.
But that would mean that Galaxy would have to win what, 3 of their last 5 matches.
3 or 4 of the last
Yeah,
5.
yeah, because we had 34 points. You need 45. Let me see. Sorry,
You need 11.
11 points, and
So you win 3 and tie 2.
yeah, and,
I don't see any of that
that's
happening.
yeah,
I am sorry,
that's
LA Galaxy fans. This trip to Austin is where the story ends. And
yeah,
for my liking, to your poll, your question, I'm with the 14% that said shut it down. I don't want to see Ricky injured. Even if he doesn't come back, this kid has the talent to have a great career. Maybe not just here, maybe go back to Europe. Don't risk him. I mean, save him from himself. I know he's a competitor. I know he wants to be out there, but at this point, you're asking for the impossible. You're asking for a miracle.
yeah. And thanks to Stan Kroenke and the Colorado Rapids, there's no way we're getting the wooden spoon this season.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys.
So you don't have to worry about that, right?
Shout out to Matt Pollard.
Yeah, shout out to Matt. We're gonna send him a wooden spoon. But yeah, Galaxy, guys, they did, you guys did great, considering, all the injuries. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my biggest concerns at the earlier in season was If at least one or two of our starters go down, this team is going to go down in flames. And you know what? They've proven me wrong. And I like when I throw out criticism and somebody proves me wrong. And in this case, it shows that our team was a lot deeper than we anticipated. That I at least I anticipated, because I thought that we were so paper thin that if we lost two of our starters, we'd be done for. And how many starters, how many important players have we lost at this point? And these guys are still fighting. But at some point, you got to take that whole narrative of like never fight. I'm sorry, never give up, never surrender. And you got to realize, like, yeah, that's it makes for great drama. It makes for great TV, but at what expense? You don't want to get so hurt that you're gonna spend your off season injured instead of relaxing and getting prepared for next season. And yeah, it's thank you guys for for everything you've done. You're getting us some nice entertaining football here at the end of the season, but uh, I would rather that everybody gets healthy and comes back refreshed. And at these last few games, we get to see some of the youngins come in and show what they can do. And maybe let Billy Sharp and Dan Jovic go out there, start a game together, and see how much damage they can do, so that Dayon, in his case, can at least finish the season on a high note, and it'll help his mental health going forward, because you could tell this guy, he's battling some demons there. But
Yeah, one hundred
yeah,
percent
look,
agree with that. Uh,
yeah,
uh,
looking forward. I mean, man, it is a really difficult task at this point, um, to try to get into the playoffs.
yeah,
The best they can do, and I know we hate to say it, but the best they can do at this point is, hey, spoil it for other people. So hurt them where it hurts them the most, especially a team like Dallas. Which we always say, damn it, so many Galaxy playoff runs die in Texas. Like, oh well, damn it, let's do it to one of their guys now.
yeah.
Let's take out Dallas.
And this is the thing. We probably will get some of these harsh criticisms ourselves. We might get those. You guys aren't real Galaxy fans, and all this talk. And we guarantee you guys that we are. But asking the LA Galaxy with a depleted roster to go on a 5 game winning streak at the end of the season and still try to compete in playoffs,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't do that. We got to be honest with ourselves. I think it's over for the and it's fine. There was a valiant effort, and I applaud it. Mostly the players. I'm still gonna be critical of the coach and the coaching staff, but from the players, even though I have talked my shit about them, valiant effort, and you guys put up a hell of a show this season, and for that, I want to thank you guys. Let's give out some awards, or did you have something else?
Yeah, there was something else I was gonna say, because I'm looking this up right now. Okay, I want to give you guys an example of what happens when you really push yourself and you're hurt. Um, it's a different sport, but we're talking about NHL hockey. In 2012, the LA Kings won the Stanley Cup, and that was, for me, it was like a dream come true, and it was very momentous. One of the reasons that this team did so well in the Stanley Cup playoffs is because so many players remained healthy for the duration of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs is one of the most grueling sporting events in the world. And the best teams the teams that end up winning usually are the ones that can stay the healthiest, because, have you ever seen hockey in the regular season? It's pretty tough. When you get to the playoffs, dial up that intensity by 1,000. So Kings won Stanley Cup in 2012. In 2013, the Kings are trying really hard to repeat, and they make a good run. They get into the Western Conference Finals, where they ran into Chicago, which is they were on their way to winning the Stanley Cup that year. And what happened was the LA Kings really fought hard to claw their way into the playoffs. What a lot of people didn't know was there were so many other key players were hurt really bad. And hockey players are known for their tenacity and for being really tough, right? Well, by the end of that playoff run, when the injury report finally came out, you found out that a player like Dustin Brown, for example, the team captain, was playing on a broken leg. You find out that one of their guys had like shattered ribs. Some other guy had like, a twisted ankle. And you look at this, and these guys spent the entire offseason just completely like depleted and hurt really badly. And it took them almost half a season to finally get back and really, really start hitting on all cylinders. And credit to them, they came back and won the cup the following season. But that 2013 season, I remember like it ended, and I was just like, oh my God, these guys were all like being held together by duct tape, and uh, you know how many careers were shortened because of that. Do we really want that for our guys as well? Do we really want our to have throw out Ricky Puig out there and see him go down like really serious? How many of us have seen Varsity Blues? I know it's a funny it's an interesting football movie with where the drama has been pumped up by a lot, but that stuff does happen. I mean, a lot of athletes want to go out there and prove how tough they are, but in the end, they get hurt, and they get hurt so bad that it affects them down the road in the future. And we don't want that with our guys. We want to see them have good, long careers and play for us and give us their best. So, yeah, if Ricky Push were to set out the rest of the season, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's get to some awards. But before we do,
Yes.
we're going to take a quick break. And we're back.
Yeah, that was a nice beer break, right?
That was a great beer break, by the way. So let's get to some of these awards. Which one do you want to start off with?
Oh, Brian, real quick.
Yes.
Did you ever find your hat?
The blue hat?
Yeah, the IKEA hat. I like that hat.
It got lost somewhere in space. I don't know.
Damn, dude. Space hat.
Damn it, space hat. So how about we start off with the game is off. I mean, we usually start off with the game is off.
Any BJs this time around? Maybe.
Yeah, the ultimate BJ goes to Greg Vanny.
Yeah,
he gets all the BJs in the world right now. I mean, I kind of already said it on the show throughout, so I don't think I have to say anymore. Yep, biggest BJ, Greg Vanny. Game is off. Game is off. We talked about this before even going recording, and you mentioned Ricky Puig, and I kind of gave it a little thought. I don't know if he should deserve that because he was on a bum ankle through 80 minutes, and it's kind of unfair to put that type of criticism on a player who I know gives it his all, 100% every game, but his body's not 100%. In this, and in particular in this game, he was at least 43%. So he should be out of the equation.
Okay.
But if you have somebody else aside from Ricky Puig, go right ahead. The floor is yours.
There's so many people. Where do I start? I know that if we had a studio audience, a lot of them would probably say Bondi. No,
Yeah.
we already discussed that. Bondi wasn't really a fault here. I would say Kevin Leardom, Raheem. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard, but I'll go with Leardom because, yeah, there's I don't know. I just feel like he's a better option at center back. It's funny to say than Mavinga. But then you wonder, like, where's Julian Alde? How come we didn't see him, right? You put Alde, out there on the right. You bring Leardom in center back instead of Mavinga. Maybe this game would have ended a little bit differently. But no, instead Leardom, he had a pretty rough game, and his game was off. His game is off often, but yeah, his game was off enough to the point where it affected the final outcome in this match. So I'll go with him. I mean, it could have easily been Rahima as well, but I don't know. Take your pick.
And well, we're gonna stay in the trend of the defenders, and I think I am gonna give it to Raheem. Just the whole backline in general, the lack of defensive awareness in this particular match, and maybe the delay kind of took a toll on them. But it was just that first half was just horrendous. That second goal in particular, the way that Raheem got beat towards the end of the towards the end of the half. I mean, you're more aware in those situations. You go into the half tied at one, and maybe the outcome is different. But this is a game of what ifs, and those what ifs don't exist. So I'm gonna stick with Raheem. I think anybody in the defense could have gotten it, even Yoshida.
Yeah,
Uh,
who else we didn't
mm-hmm.
mention is also Mark Delgado because in that first goal, if he would have followed Ring into the into the box, he might have been able to prevent that shot from getting off.
Yeah, even Roselle could have got it. But on these, in this time around, since it's only two of us, we're gonna go with the fullbacks.
Yeah.
So let's go with the honorable mention, the You Got Hartman Award. I have my pick, and
Wow.
you want to go first on this
uh,
one?
I'll let you go first. Go for
Chris moving no.
it.
It's gonna be Jonathan Perez. Johnny
Johnny.
Perez. Yes. The kid came in, did what he had to do, gave the assist for the tie. Already looked better than former players that we've had on his team in the same age group, and I think he's probably younger. Um, this kid is hungry. He wants minutes. Hopefully, we get to see more minutes of him in these last 5 games that the Galaxy have, and I want to see him get those minutes in order for him to showcase for what he could do next season. And in yesterday's match with that tying assist, that's what gives me the okay to give him the Hartman Award. What about you, sir?
Um, I'm gonna give it to an old favorite of mine
Yes.
because those goals are far and few between now, and every time he scores one, I always say stunt these holes. So Dejan Jovic, man, it's been a while since we see him score a goal in a run and play, and it was really nice to see him and Billy Sharp paired up there, um, which is interesting because Billy Sharp is a poacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Chicharito's a poacher, and it didn't seem like Chicharito and Dejan ever really clicked well together. But something about Billy Sharp and Jovic is it worked well. I don't know if it has to do with the mentality there, but I just feel like maybe Billy Sharp, his experience weighs heavily in this situation. He's been able to play with such a great variety of players in the league championship and with Sheffield, Nottingham. So I'm pretty sure maybe he sat down with Dejan and gave him a little pep talk, and they went out there and maybe it started to help. So good for you, Dayon. You got heart, kid, and hopefully, we see more of this as the season wears on. And that takes us down to the next standing.
Yep. The most prestige award in all of MLS, the Nag Standing Player of the Match.
I mean, do you feel like anybody like really, really was next standing out there? Hmm.
Hmm. I mean, this player. Well, for me, this player tied the game,
Yeah,
and he is a player that has been the LA Galaxy killer for many years, and a player that is a spark off the bench, the spark that we needed off the bench. Um, he just came in to tie the game, and that's one Michael Barrios. Something that we talked about him in this show, that this is what he does. He comes in to do those daggers, and that's
yeah,
exactly what he did in this match.
yeah. And once again, off a beautiful pass from Johnny Perez.
Yeah,
And credit to Mikey for not giving up on that because that ball was up there for so long, right? And then Mikey, you see Mikey running in at the last second and streaking in to score the game tying goal. Um, and one of the reasons I also chose him as my next standing is because if he gets a shot, if he wraps his foot enough around that shot, he gets a goal to win the match at the death,
yeah,
literally at the death. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to, and the shot went wide. But yeah, that's the impact you kind of want, from somebody like a Mikey Rogers to come in and provide that quick little bite, that really sharp attack at the end that will have defenses on their heels and struggling to keep up. Um, he's somebody that I would like to see get more minutes, like especially in the last few games. I got a feeling that the Galaxy season might come to an end this weekend against a very hot Portland team.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the case, if the game is out of hand, sub out the guys that have been working so hard and bring in some of the other guys that could benefit from some playing time, from some minutes, from some exposure to our supporters, and so that they could feel like they've really been part of this Galaxy family. Somebody like a Mikey Barrios, for example, somebody like a Johnny Perez, like we've been talking about. So maybe let Diego play a full 90, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and another player that didn't have a bad match, Diego,
Yeah,
on his homecoming, he didn't have a bad match. It's
yeah,
just this time around, we won't give him any of the awards. But you know what? Shout out to Diego Fagundes and Michael Barrios because they were out there taking pictures with our News Across the Galaxy flags,
yeah,
which was very cool.
yeah.
Which was which was very cool. And shout out to them for being cool about that, and showing some love. So shout out to them. Let's go to some questions. We got a couple on Instagram. We already answered the one on Twitter by longtime listener Alex. So we'll go on to Instagram and see what kind of questions we have. Give me one moment. All right, here we go. From Logan Jones. Should we fire the whole training staff because of how many injuries that we've suffered?
That is such a weird question, right? Because I mean, what the hell? What's going on? What kind of training exercises are they making these guys do, right? Um, and it's not like somebody suffered like a horrible tackle and like, oh, my knees tore up. Right? I mean, with the case of Martin Cáceres, that was an oddity, right? Because he messed up his knee, fractured his kneecap, right? Um, but with everybody else, it's been like most of the injuries have been away from the play or off the ball. So who knows? That's a good question.
We've
Makes
criticized them on the show before. We've asked that same question before. That if
Mhm.
some of these injuries are on this coaching staff, and Willis was one to say that yes, it is, because they're the ones putting them out there to do these strenuous exercise or whatever it is, and they should know better just because they have the knowledge to prevent those type of mishaps in the team. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but I mean it's something that could be looked at.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's I mean it's a weird coincidence how many people have suffered almost similar injuries at this point.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of lower body injuries.
Mm-hmm.
The only exception was Douglas Costa, who injured a shoulder, and we still haven't seen him. We haven't seen him back. It's been 3 matches, and he's still been largely absent. Hopefully, we get to see him, against Portland. But it is autumn now, and he is Summer Costa, so maybe he's not going to show up anymore.
Summer's over, baby. From Bangarang 77. Should our injury situation worsen, who would you convert into a temporary center back?
We said Kelvin Leerdam.
Yeah, Kevin Leardom is the immediate answer that I wanted as soon as Neil went down, but Vanier or whatever.
You know what's funny? We talk about the center backs. Earlier today, I mentioned about how like the Galaxy defense has given up 12 goals in the last 4 matches, and somebody responded, Mancha Azul responded, yeah, and Zabaleta still plays because of Uncle. Horrific, right? And somebody responded, like, mother effer, he still plays because we literally have two warm bodies available to play in defense, which is it's sad, it's true. I tweeted earlier, I was like, the Galaxy defense was the one thing that was carrying this team during the summer, right? You had Jalen Neal and Cáceres, and when Cáceres went down, Yoshida stepped in, and it was almost like like good transition. But now this defense is completely depleted with injuries. There's not much we can ask of them because the guys that are out there are literally the last line of defense. They're at the bottom of the depth chart, so a lot of mistakes are gonna happen, and that's just the way it is. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna see Zabaleta come out there, with a pupusa in one hand and a fork in the other. I'm sorry, a pupusa on a plate. It's not in his hand.
Oh, why not? And speaking of Zamaleta, GK13, bro, Zamaleta strikes again. I don't think he had a.
Eh,
I mean, he
I
wasn't
mean,
good, but
yeah. He could have maybe stuck his leg out a little bit on that second goal, but yeah.
Logan Jones was once again. Do you guys think that the league is trying to hurt Ricky on purpose? This is something that's very interesting.
Hmm.
And it's something that Ricky Pooch alluded to earlier in the season that they're not protecting the best players on the team. In this particular case, with Ricky Pooch being the best player on the LA Galaxy, yes, the player that injured Ricky got a yellow. But should it have been more harsh where it could have been a
Mm,
red?
no, but I don't think it was red. I mean, he got a penalty out of it and a yellow. That's pretty
Well, I mean,
harsh.
he didn't get injured in the penalty. He got injured before the penalty.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, on that play, the guy got a yellow, right? On that one.
Yes, he got a yellow.
Yeah.
But it goes back to
Uh,
maybe when it comes to those type of tackles, if you start giving reds out early in the season, those type of tackles don't occur late in the season.
yeah, but then you start to go down that slippery slope of, like, what's worthy of a red tackle and what's, I mean, of a red card and what's not. Uh, and also, Ricky is always going to be a lightning rod for physicality because of the way he plays. It's just the way he is.
Hmm.
We just mentioned, he'll see like three defenders in front of him, right, and Boyd streaking down the middle. And Ricky's like, "Here we go, boys!" And he just runs charging right into the guys, right, with the ball. That's just how he is. So he's gonna attract, that kind of physicality. And the scouting report already stated that Ricky's the kind of guy that if you put it, you go shoulder to shoulder with him, you take him off the ball, you push him off the ball, and not only are you going to affect his style of play, I mean his effectivity, but it's also going to start to get under his skin, and then you start to, really bother him. We've seen it before. We saw him in the playoffs last season. We've seen it, time and again, that he doesn't like when people like body him and push him off the ball. That's just the kind of player he is. So, yeah, he's gonna be the target of physical play. As far as like a dirty play, I mean, there's some players out here that aren't saints. They're gonna go in there hard, studs
Hmm.
up, and hopefully that's when you really hope that the refs are able to do something about that, so a player will think twice before doing that to somebody like a Ricky Push.
Yeah. Adam DC 24. Still think Bond could have done better yesterday coming out of his position.
Mm,
His defense let him down. I mean, he hasn't been a spectacular goalie by any stretch of the imagination this season, but yesterday wasn't
no, I
really
mean
on him.
him and Stuber made some good stops. I mean, if you go back and you watch the game, you'll see both of them made some pretty good stops. There was even commentary like during the match, the play-by-play. They were like, "Wow, um, both goalkeepers have made some good stops on at the line." And if Bond was really as awful as a lot of people in their heads think he is, I really do believe that he wouldn't be starting. It'd be Jonathan Klinsmann 100%.
Hmm.
But or what's his name?
Mikovic.
Mikovic. I was gonna
Mhm.
say Illich. He
Mikovic
plays.
mania,
That guy
baby.
played for Colorado. um,
Mikovic,
Mikovic.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mikovic mania. Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Adam DC 24 once again. A tie is better than no points. Saturday is a must
Uh,
win at home versus Timbers. If not, the season is definitely over. I hate to break it to you, but the season's over.
yeah. Like we said at the very beginning, the body language of the players, and this ties in with the beginning of the show, because we're close to capping it up. But the body language that the players exhibit at the end, after clawing back to tie the game, right? Which is, um, pat yourself on the back for doing that. That's pretty difficult, right? Go down 3-1. How many times can you go down by 2 goals, right? They
Hmm.
went down, what, 2-0 in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah, came back. They went down 3-1 in Minnesota, came
Came
back
back.
and won, and then they went down 3-1 again, came back. How many times can you do that? I mean, that really takes it out of you. Um, and so what you saw there, it wasn't just exhaustion because they had to play a game in that kind of condition. It was just they were mentally exhausted. They came so close to coming back and keeping themselves close enough to really say, oh, we got playoff hopes. But at this point, that's more of a stretch than anything else.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to be optimistic at this moment of the season. Thinking that we're gonna win 5 games in a row. Sure, whatever it is you're drinking, let me take some of that because I want to be in that same positive zone that you are. But it doesn't seem like a possible. Well, at least not for me.
it's not plausible.
Not plausible. There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And finally, from Black Galaxy fans, the 4-4-2 looked pretty good. Should we stick
Yeah.
with it?
Hey man, at this point you're playing with house money. Go for it. You got nothing to lose. Like I said, the team already exceeded whatever we expected from them just because of the injuries. And I mean, even many weeks ago, I told Eddie, I was like, I think that I'd give Vanny a mulligan for this season because of all at the injuries that we had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'd give Vanny a mulligan. So come back next season with a healthy roster. Who knows, what wonderful things Kuntz is gonna cook up, in the winter. Come back, recharge and revitalize to hit the next season, really hard and see what this team can do with no sanctions and without Chris Klein holding you down. And here we are, right? And they're still fighting for a playoff spot, but God, I lost my train of thought. What I was trying to say is that they've exceeded whatever expectations we had of them, despite all the injury stuff. I don't feel like the season has been a wash because it's been such an anomaly for all these injuries. How many injuries can the team absorb until you finally realize that, damn, this is impossible task to try to make the playoffs, even with the expanded format. But then again, we never counted on St. Louis being this good in an expansion season, right? Yeah, usually expansion team is like near the bottom, so in a normal season, you probably, I mean, in a normal situation, right? You'd see St. Louis down there, right above Colorado, and Galaxy would be just one little step closer, to a playoff spot. But then again, Galaxy they stole points from St. Louis. 2 draws against one of the best teams in the league,
Yeah.
home and away. So there's no excuse.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Nagger after
Did I
dark.
answer the question? Did I answer the question, or did I go off on the rails?
Yes, a little bit of both, but it's all good. I will say this with the 4-4-2: if you're gonna shut it down for these next 5 games, why not?
Yeah, yeah. Just have fun, man.
Yeah, I think
See,
so
see
at
what
this point.
works.
Yeah, I think at this point, just have fun. Also, I think we'll circle back to that mulligan that you want to give Vanny because I'm not so sure I would give it to him. But we'll circle back to that towards the end of the season when we have the end of the season show. So, but for now, that's it for the 2 Nag boys here. If you have anything else that you want to say before we get out of here, Edgar,
Hey, Brian, if the Galaxy makes the playoffs, will you shave your eyebrows?
if they make the playoffs, no.
Why not?
There should be
Come
something
on.
though. If they do go on a
If-
winning streak, I should do something.
If they make the playoffs, will you shave your eyebrows?
Oof.
Come on.
We'll think of
Do
something.
you really? I mean, we just talked about how they're Walking Dead, pretty much.
They are Walking Dead, but these are the type of situations where if I do bend my eyebrows, this team's gonna go on a 5-game winning streak.
Do it. I mean, right now the Galaxy's like a shambling corpse. Like,
Did somebody say eyebrows? They all come back to life. Come on now.
yeah, right. Ricky Puig's like, I'm okay, boys. Chicharito shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. We'll think of something though. Also, the keg is coming.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people been wondering about that. So the keg is coming. I think the last home game is against Is it the Dallas one or is it this one against Portland?
I think it might be the Dallas game. Let me check real quick because everything we do is awesome here at Nag After Dark.
All feelings, no facts, baby.
All feelings, the fact we're doing everything live
and recorded at the same time.
And recorded at the same time, so it's like some kind of like time paradox. Let's see the Galaxy fixtures. We have that Dallas match is the last game of the season. It's on Saturday at 6 p.m. Decision day, baby. Everybody's gonna need that extra shot of alcohol.
Yeah.
But do we have a set date for the kegger?
We'll talk to Eddie and Chewy, and then we'll have like a group meeting. We're not sure if we're gonna do it this weekend coming up against Portland, or if we do it at the end of the season. I would prefer the end of the season. That way, everybody could feel a little bit more loose with the drinks, and it's gonna be a Saturday. People will wake up and spend their Sunday however they like. So I think that would be a better option. But who knows? We'll talk about it. We'll see what's up.
Okay, you know what? I mean, by that point, the season should be definitely over.
Yeah.
And I want to end that on a good note. So I'm just gonna put it out there right now. I would love to see Hot Dog Girl come back for at least one more game.
Oh, there it is.
At the end of the season. So, we can all be like, yeah, Hot Dog Girl's here. Woo!
Shout out.
Galaxy ruins Dallas' playoff chances there at the very end.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Hot Dog Girl. So, you can catch me on all social medias as Bryant_Nags. Edgar, where can I find you?
Hold on, let me fix this real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go. You can find me as Edgar Nags on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube too.
Not to be confused with Eddie Nags.
Nope.
All right, guys. But that does it from Edgar and myself. We are out of here, and as usual, keep on nagging.
On Nagn.
Nag After Dark, baby.
Nag After Dark. This is when the fun starts right now.